Welcome to the Escarpment. This is my model railway HO build channel and I'm your host Jason. In today's episode it's just going to be a quick update, but to sort of show you what I've sort of been doing behind the scenes with these control panels. You see, I've finally made a start. Well, I've made a fairly decent start. I've got a couple control panels completed, as in the control panels themselves. I still haven't got them hooked up to the point motors on the layout, but I decided, I've done all the testing before they get up there, but I decided I'm just going to get the 8. Yep, that's right, I've got 8 to build. I've got 8 I need to complete, and I'll get them up on the layout before I start hooking them up to point motors. So here you can see this is one of 2 that I've already got up on the layout. They're fully done, fully wired at the back. The only thing that hasn't been connected is obviously the point motors, as mentioned earlier. That's basically in the flesh. I can't show you with the lights on at the moment. Obviously I don't have the power bus set up on the layout yet. That's another thing I've got to do. My power supply, I've got an outlet down there that I can set the voltage at whatever I need to, all the way up to 13.8 volts. Down here I've already done 2 with the wiring. That's most of the wiring done. Obviously they've got the power inputs. I've got power bus there just to make the soldering and wiring easier. I've got the LEDs in place. I just used some hot glue to put them in place, and then obviously I just coated them with black paint just to help with any of the light glare from behind. And as you can see here with these PCBs, I didn't need to do any crossover wiring because that already has it in the design on the PCB. By the time I get to the wiring, I've already done the spray painting of the frame, but due to the weather, I haven't been able to get outside to spray. So what I've done is taken the wiring up to the point where I need to then first do the spraying of the frame, then come back, finish off the wiring, because there's still another board that goes across here. Normally, depending on the fascia, because that sits on top of the fascia, this board here, and then there's some brackets here that get screwed in from the top, and then usually the fascia will come down to here. So I set it about 5mm lower than the fascia, put that board in. What I use that board for is basically to stick my connectors on. So behind here for the point motors, these will connect to one side of the connectors. The other side will be wired straight to the point motors. And it just makes it easier, especially if I do get them back to front. It's just easier to undo a couple screws, switch the wires, and away we go. And you can see right here on the workbench, this is the latest one I'm working on. So these are my control panels as they stand. Now I've done a little bit differently. Most people get a board and sort of do their layout schematics with tape or maybe with painting, that type of stuff. What I've done is actually I've gone to an acrylic store and I've taken some photos and then overlaid them with my schematics of the layout ready for printing. And what I've done with these ones, instead of printing them on the front, I actually had clear perspex and then had the picture reversed and laminated onto the back. So it sort of gives a little bit more of a 3D effect to it, I guess. You know me, always trying to be different. They've come out really, really nice. Glad I headed down that particular path. You can see here I've got the frames now. The frames, they're nothing fancy. They were something like 40mm deep. I think they're 12mm thick, and obviously they're cut to the size of the board, plus an extra 24mm just to allow, because what I've done on the corners is I've cut them at a 45-degree angle and joined them that way. I've got the LEDs in place. I've got the switches in place. Got these black PCB boards, I should say. Now what I did, I got these designed, and what they do, they actually reverse these double pole, double throw switches for me. So I didn't want to go and solder these crossover wires. They were just a lot of work, so it was just easier. I paid someone just to quickly do up the design, and then there's these online stores you can go and send these designs off to and get them printed out. I've ordered a shitload of those. I thought they always come in handy, and just cuts down the amount of soldering I've got to do. The other thing here is the LEDs. I'm using bicolor or bipolar, whatever you want to call them, green and red, where they've already been wired together in parallel. The picture or the diagram you'll see of my schematic of the wiring setup is basically based on a tortoise, but I'm using cobalt, but they're basically the same. Now the cobalt, I went up and looked up the specifications of those, and those are around about 25 milliamps. But again, that is at the full spectrum of the voltage that you're applying. Now, what I plan to do moving forward, and you'll see a bit of a test video shortly, is I'm only going to apply probably between the 8 and 10 volt mark. Now, why I say I'm not quite sure, I've tested with the 8 volt and it's great, but given that these are all going to be running off the same power bus, I just need to make sure I'm supplying enough voltage to get to, you know, all of them equally. Video that I've done, I did it against 8 volts, and it's really, really nice. It gives a nice slow motion on the point motor, but not only that, it actually is very quiet. So this is over on the other side of the layout. Another one that's been done here up on level 3. See there, it's the same as the one on the other side as far as, you know, it's finished to the state on ready to be wired up to the point motors. And this one here will be doing the Terry Maintenance Centre up here, which is basically the coach yard maintenance for coaches, that type of stuff. Thought I'd just show you the other side that's been totally completed. I've got this board in place, and that was really to fix my connection to the panel. Oh well, I guess between the panel and the point motors on this side. You know, obviously that's my power input, negative, positive, and then each of the switches on the other side. You know, I've got switch 1 all the way up to 11, and what I've done is on this side done the same thing, labelled 1 to 11, just so I know which point motor is wired to what, just for a bit of organisation. And you can see there I've got the point motors in place. They're all now connected to the out or the in, whichever way you want to call it. The 2 wires coming from the point motors from the layout will go into the corresponding connector points. These are the brackets. The fascia sits within this section here and is flush up against this one, and it sort of slides in between the wood and the bracket. And then on the other side I've got 2 holes here which then screw in, so it's held in 4 positions, and just make sure that it's secured and fixed and it's not going to fall or anything like that. So that's the progress to date. And as I said, I'm waiting for some better weather so I can get out and get these frames. I've got 4 of them ready to go to spray. Once these 4 are done, I've still got 2 to go. That will make 8 in total, but good progress to date. I really underestimated the size of this job just due to all the wiring and soldering. I've still got to do the wiring from the point motors, but I've sort of picked me up a lot of connectors to sort of help with that. And I've got some other stuff on order to help me fasten the wires underneath the layout, just to make sure they're tidy. It's nothing worse than a million wires going everywhere and you have no idea what you're looking at. There is a power bus I need to put in. They'll go to each of the boards here. But like I said, I'll get the boards in first, then I'll put the power bus in, and then it'll be on with the wiring. Brought 2 of these reels of this type of wire. I've got to make myself up a board, and I'll get some dowels and put this over the dowels, make sure it's fastened, and then I'll be able just to run the line out like that, just to make sure, you know, the wiring aspect doesn't take, you know, 40 days, 40 nights, that type of stuff. So I think at the moment what I'll do, I'll just quickly go over to a quick slideshow just to show you some of the steps that I undertook with building these control panels. So that brings us to the end of this particular video. So I hope you found that useful, insightful. I was going to do another video to actually just demonstrate the step-by-step, because I've still got 2 control panels left after these 4 that I'll do. Leave a comment below if you want me to do that step-by-step. And what I mean by that is to take you through from the beginning to the end, as in putting the frame together, how I sort of space the board, because the actual face of it is flush with the frame. Let me know below if you want me to do something like that. Still, for those that are waiting on orders, I'm still behind the scenes putting together the coal kit, so I'll be reaching out as your name comes up. I've sort of put them in a bit of an order where it sort of looked like, the expression of interest, how they've sort of flowed into me. So I hope I've got that pretty right. I've already sent out, I think I've done 4 or 5. I've still got another 1 or 2 here, and there's still a number of orders after that. But be patient, and I'll reach out as soon as that's been done, because I've had some delays with the weather, the colder weather here with winter, and that has affected the resin. So I've got now I've got part of my heating solution for one of the printers. I'm just waiting for the other one to come in for the other printer, and it'll be back up to 100% production. Right now I'm just running on 50%, but it's enough to get me by, because I had a number of other models already pre-done before the colder weather set in. So bear with me on that. But anyway, look, I'm going to stop the rambling there. So until next time, take care. Bye for now.